Welcome into Clippers Talk. I'm Adam Osland. 106 straight days of shows for you. That is a streak.
We're going streaky!
Appreciate you guys for joining me. It doesn't stop. Off days. No. We're 7 days a week here. There are no off days in season. Coming up on today's show, we'll have Jovan Buha on from The Athletic, beat reporter for the Los Angeles Lakers. Old friend of mine who obviously covered the Clippers, their first season in the 2-1-3 era, 2019-2020 year. Still doing it for The Athletic, but for the enemy now. Behind enemy lines with Jovan Buha coming up here. He will join the show. I think he is the best when it comes to Lakers news and information with his analysis. He's awesome. What Lob Murray is for the Clippers, he is for the Los Angeles Lakers. And with the showdown coming up tomorrow night, 6 p.m. tip-off at Intuit Dome, I thought it would be a good time to get Jovan Buha on. Who was first here? Mio was. And first to say, wow. Jay said first, but wasn't. Kaylee said, what's good, Adam? What's good, Kaylee? Jay said, wanted D'Lo to hit that shot just as much as he did. Me too. I said earlier in the second half, D'Angelo Russell has a chance to do the funniest thing ever, which of course would mean beating the Lakers after they traded him. And he almost did. Denny Guan 33 said also first, but like fourth. Kaylee said ready for the Clippers to whip the Lakers. Bach said, sup, Adam? Can't wait for tomorrow. Me too. I am excited about this one. I'm also excited about this episode and just getting to talk to Jovan Buha again. He's just one of the best to do it. Ever. Already. He's got some of that young goat energy in him. Alfonso said they're in our house now. Yes, for the first time in 25 years. It'll be a true road game for the Lakers and a true home game for the Clippers in this matchup. Since I think it was summer of 99 when Staples Center originally opened to house both teams. Kaylee said, for what it's worth, Clippers have a better offensive rating than the Lakers the last 5 games. Alex Webb said, I'll be there early tomorrow. Let's go Clips. Sal said, let's go Clips. I can get with that. I hope the game
not too bad, I hope.
Is
not too bad, I hope.
I need to get that louder.
Not too bad, I hope.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know. Does anybody have information on if we've ever been this far into the season before we've gotten a Clippers-Lakers game? Because I'm about to tell you something mind-blowing. This game for the Clippers on Sunday, tomorrow, is game 41 of the regular season, meaning they will have reached the halfway point. They will have reached the halfway point and are just starting the regular season series against the Los Angeles Lakers. That's incredible. Yes, said it earlier. Jovan covered the Clippers, was there. His last year with them was the end of the first year with the 2-1-3 era. Mio said, at least we're hoping for a true Clipper crowd where the Dome is more Clippers fans than Lakers fans. Same. Ibrahim Osman said, Adam, you think Jeff helps not giving up weak switches at times with Zubats on LeBron? You remember he lit us up because of Daniel Tice. That was the 21-point comeback the Lakers had in the fourth quarter against the Clippers last season, which was the worst loss, I would say, maybe the 2-1-3 era in the regular season. Kaylee said, you think there will be a lot of Laker jerseys at Intuit Dome tomorrow? Probably, but hopefully less than usual. Jay said, may the wall greet them with the worst regards on my behalf, please. Let's go, Clippers. I want to make sure I'm coming through loud and clear for you guys. Jovan Buha will be joining us shortly here, but I'm going to run down some of the numbers between these two teams so far this season. Kaylee said, I'm really happy the first Lakers game is during a stretch where the Clippers are really clicking. You can make the argument, I guess, the Clippers are peaking right before this ball game, having just destroyed their last two opponents and going plus 88 in point differential the last two games in a back-to-back. That ties the all-time record in NBA history for largest point differential during a back-to-back, plus 88. Clippers winning by 59 over Brooklyn. And then the very next night, out on the road, they won by 29 over the Portland Trailblazers. It can lead you to believe the Clippers are primed and ready for this ball game. Alex Webb said the wall. Mio said at least we'll have the wall, baby. Alex Webb said the wall about to be popping off. AI Adam is in the house.
I'm so lonely. Please help me.
He said, hi, Adam's family. How's it going? Not too bad, I hope.
Not too bad, I hope.
The Adams family. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Appreciate you guys in here. Again, as the title states, Jovan Buha will be joining me in just a little bit, but I have a lot to discuss with you about this matchup. Bok said, excited to kick some Lakers fans out of the wall. Love doing that during the Warriors game. And you do have to be a Clippers fan to be at the wall. I heard a pregnant woman got kicked out. A pregnant woman that was a Warriors fan was kicked out of the wall. Rules are rules, no exceptions. Oh, that dude calls in after the game tomorrow night. That would be interesting.
Hey, what's up, buddy? How are you tonight? Not too bad, I hope.
What was his name? Tyler, the Laker fan who tried to troll?
Not too bad, I hope.
All right, I do want to say something off the top here, just because it's been a couple of better days here in Los Angeles does not mean we have forgotten about all the people affected by the tragedy with the devastating wildfires going on throughout Southern California. And just want to extend thoughts, prayers, but overall support and love their way. Still, of course, this is what's on our mind all the time. This show can be a little bit of a distraction. Games can be a little bit of a distraction, but then you snap back to reality and it's devastating. It looks like a war zone out there. It's just incredible to see the clips and the news reports of what's happening in Southern California. So I just don't want anybody to think that we have forgotten about the first responders and all the work they're doing and everyone impacted by the fires. We love you. We're thinking about you. Darian Vaziri, we got your back, man. I believe that GoFundMe is still up. It's pinned at @FollowAdamA on my X account. If you want to go there and lend your support to one of the biggest Clippers fans that's provided us a lot of content, excuse me. And I have made contact with him, just checking in with him. And he put out on Dime Dropper on the YouTube side an update of how he's doing recently. So wanted to make sure everybody still are keeping those people in your thoughts and prayers right now. All right. Clippers Lakers tomorrow night. We'll have your pregame show starting at 5 from Intuit Dome. I will be there, weather depending. Winds pick up. Yeah, I'd stay in Burbank just to be safe. But tip off at 6, pregame at 5. Let's get into this preview before Jovan Buha comes on here and helps us a little bit more. So the Lakers on the season, they're 13th offensively. The Clippers are 22nd. Yes, the Clippers have been better the last 5 games than the Lakers. That's going to happen when you blow out a team by 59 and then 29 the very next night. But if you go back last 10 games, Lakers are 10th offensively. The Clippers are 24th. Defensively on the season, the Lakers are 24th, and the Clippers are second. They moved up last night to having the second best defensive rating in the league, only second to the OKC Thunder. Last 10 games defensive rating, Clippers still second. Lakers 28th. So both the things these teams do best have gotten better over the last 10 games. Offensively, where the Lakers thrive, they've gotten a little bit better the last 10 games. Defensively, where the Clippers thrive, are still second, I guess, on the season, but both teams doing overall what they do best really well the last 10 games. On the season, Lakers play at the 23rd fastest pace, the Clippers 20th. On the season, Clippers are 7th in rebounding percentage. This may surprise you. The Lakers are 27th in rebounding percentage. They are a bad rebounding team. Clippers 14th in three-point percentage on the season at 36.5% on 34 attempts from the outside. Lakers are much worse from three. They're 35.3%, also on 34 attempts per game on the year. But if you look at last 10 games, Lakers have been better than the Clippers from the outside. Lakers over last 10, 36.3% from three. Clippers 33.9% from three in their last 10 games. Lakers are better in two-point percentage on the season. They're 10th at 55.3% from two. Clippers 18th at 53.7%. Funny that the Lakers are right in front of the Clippers in two-point field goal percentage frequency. They're right in front of them. Clippers right behind them. But when it comes to three-point field goal percentage frequency, the Clippers are one spot in front of the Lakers. Opponent three-point percentage. Teams are only shooting 34% from three against the Clippers on the year. That is the third best mark in the league. Teams are at 36.6% against the Lakers from three. That's 22nd in the league. I know you guys are going to be interested in this. The Lakers take the seventh most free throws in the league per game at 23.4. The Clippers are 14th in free throw attempts at 21.8. And the Lakers, when it comes to opponent free throw attempts, are fourth best. Opponents are only getting 18.6 free throws per game against the Lakers. Clippers are 11th best. Opponents are only getting 21.2 free throws a game against them. So the Lakers are getting about 5 more free throw attempts per game than their opponents. Of course, over the last couple of years, I think they've taken something around like 800 more free throw attempts than their opponents. It's by far the widest margin in the NBA. If anybody has the exact number on that, because it seemed to increase right after, remember that game in Boston where LeBron James got fouled by Jason Tatum? They didn't call it. Patrick Beverley grabbed the camera and tried to show the official. LeBron was very upset, was down on his knees looking to the basketball gods afterwards why he couldn't get a call. Ever since that moment, the amount of free throws have gone up for the Los Angeles Lakers, and I want to say they've taken about 800 more free throws than their opponents over that timeline, which is like 500 more free throws than the team that's in second in that category when it comes to free throws attempted by you versus how many attempts your opponents get per game. So, of course, if the Lakers take that many, it must be because their points in the paint are much higher than the Clippers, right? More physical in the paint, bumping and grinding. Nope. They are 12th, Lakers in points in the paint at 49.5 points in the paint per game. The Clippers are 9th at 49.8 points in the paint per game. But, with the Lakers fouling at a much lower rate than the Clippers, they must not give up as many points in the paint, right? Nope. They're giving up the 28th most points in the paint per game, the Lakers, at 52 per game to their opponents. The Clippers, 7th fewest in the NBA at 46.1 points in the paint to their opponents per game. Of course, actually, taking less fouls per game could be an indictment on the Lakers because they're just not playing aggressive physical defense out there. You could spin it that way if you're a Lakers fan and everybody's pointing to, why aren't you guys getting called for more fouls per game? It could be because they're just not close enough to getting called for those fouls, because defensively, they're 28th the last 10 games. And overall on the season, on the defensive end, they are 24th. They're just really bad there. Lakers are better when it comes to turnovers. Overall in the season, they are the 6th best team when it comes to taking care of the basketball. 13.3 turnovers per game. Last 10 games, they've been even better, the Lakers, just 11 turnovers per game. The Clippers on the season, we know this is their big issue. They are bottom 5 in the league at 16.4 turnovers per game. They're about there the last 10 games too. But overall, I've seen good signs when Kawhi Leonard is out there on the court with them taking care of the basketball. And I've been telling you all year, I think that is going to be the big difference. Once Kawhi is playing 30, 35 minutes a night, I think the Clippers' turnovers will go down significantly. I've already seen some signs there because it'll be much less taxing for James Harden when Kawhi's out there with the ball in his hands a ton. And so you'll have less careless mental mistakes of just fatigue turnovers that I think have been there all season from James Harden, because he has one of the highest usage ratings in the league at the age of 35. Once Kawhi is back fully, that usage rating will drop significantly, because right now it's up 10% from where it was last season for James Harden. Now, of course, Paul George was there too last season, so that helped bring down his usage rating. But I still would imagine it's going to go down about 5% when Kawhi is out there. Clippers are better in getting you to turn the ball over. Opponents are turning the basketball over 15.6 times per game against the Clippers, just 14.1 times per game against the Lakers. So what about points off of those turnovers? The Clippers, 20% basically of their points per game come off of turnovers. They are second best in the league to OKC at averaging 20.5 turnovers, or 20.5 points off of turnovers per game. Second best in the league there. They're getting 20.5, make it 21 points off of turnovers per game. The Lakers, 16.6 there. 16.6 points off of opponents' turnovers per game. So a lot of those points obviously coming in the fast break. Clippers 9th there in fast break points per game at 17.1 points. Lakers 14th at 15.5. Remember, they play at an even slower pace than the Clippers. Both teams are low when it comes to second chance points. Clippers aren't a great offensive rebounding team. And overall, on second chance points, they're 22nd at just 12.8 per game. Lakers, worse. They're 26th at just 12.1 second chance points per game. They're a bad rebounding team. Overall, defensive rebounding, offensive rebounding, Lakers, not a strength for them. It's a weakness. The Clippers are really good when it comes to limiting opponents in second chance points per game. They're second best in the league. 12.2 points scored by the opposition every game against the Clippers. The Lakers, they're giving up 15 per game. It's 15 second chance points to their opponents per game. That's 25th in the league. What's crazy about the Lakers is they actually have a minus point differential this season. They're getting outscored on average by 2.3 points per game. That would typically tell you you're like a bottom 4 team in your conference, but somehow they're still 6th. The only other team in the top 10 in the Western Conference with a negative point differential is the Suns. They're 10th right now at 20-20. They're being outscored by an average of 1.3 points per game. The Lakers, they're being outscored by 2.3 points per game. So when they win, it's by slimmer margins. When they lose, they get blown out. But the Lakers are a half game behind the Clippers right now. They're 22-17. Clippers are 23-17. You want to talk about domination, though, in this head-to-head matchup. Since the 2012-2013 season, the Clippers are 37-10 against the Lakers. They have won 37 of the last 47 matchups between the Clippers and Lakers since the 2012-2013 season. Absolute domination. Lob City era, 2-1-3 era. In fact, I believe they had an 11-game winning streak against the Lakers the first 11 times they played them with Coach Lue as their head coach. The Lakers hadn't beaten Coach Lue as the head coach of the Clippers until last season when they finally won the season series 3-1. I think I said this yesterday, either on here or on Clips and Dip, but it's almost looked like a Lakers team that has been constructed to just try to beat the Clippers because for so long they were on the wrong end of just getting beat up in that rivalry. And last season they did. They were better. And James Harden struggled in the 3 games he played against the Clippers, for the Clippers against the Lakers last season. His first 3 games in this matchup as a member of your Los Angeles Clippers. If I pull up the numbers here with James Harden, I think he averaged 20 points per game, but I know the turnovers were overall up in those games against the Lakers last season. They did a really good job staying in front of him. Their ball pressure was tough against James Harden, and that contributed to them winning 2 of the 3 games when James Harden played for the Clippers against the Lakers last season. As I check out these splits here, in his 3 games against the Lakers, James Harden, 20 points per game, 9 assists. I guess it's 9 assists to 3 turnovers. It's not that bad. And he shot 44% from the field and 38% from 3. I want to say some of those games, though, as I go to the game log from last season, I really feel like he had at least one game where the turnovers were really high against the Lakers. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. One game he had 9 assists to 4 turnovers. Another game he had 10 assists to 1 turnover. So the first game against them, he had 9 assists to 5 turnovers. Not great. But overall this season, the assist to turnover ratio has been bad for James Harden. And I'm telling you, it's not because he's turned into a completely different player. And that's the reason he averages 8 assists to 4.6 turnovers per game. So not even a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. It's not even 8-to-4. It's 8 to 4.6. It's because he's 35. They've had Kawhi Leonard out there for 4 games. And James Harden is being asked to do far too much for a guy that old. His usage rating is that of what you'd see with like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's 26, or Luka Doncic, who I think is still 25. It's just, he's no spring chicken anymore. He shouldn't be having a usage rating this high. In fact, I'll pull it up for you. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, for reference, has a usage rating of 33%. LaMelo Ball has the ball in his hands all the time. He has the highest usage rating in the league at 36.4%. Again, SGA 33%, Luka Doncic 32%, John Morant 31%. I know it has gone down as of late for James Harden, but it's still at 30%. It's right behind those guys. Anthony Edwards, usage rating of 30%. The only other guy close to him that's actually a little bit older with a high usage rating, and they are struggling this season, is Kevin Durant. He's got a usage rating at 29.9%. James Harden's is at, let's see. No. That I misread that. Yeah, Kevin Durant's at 30%. James Harden's is at 29.5%. This is not the way. All these guys, except for KD, have around the same usage rating as James Harden, and he's 35. And I don't think LaMelo Ball is that old. He's 23. Shai Gilgeous is 26. Yes, Luka Doncic is still 25. John Morant's 25. It's too much. And particularly, it rears its ugly head, the poor assist to turnover ratio for James Harden, in fourth quarters. I've given you guys this number before, but I'll do it again to drive home this point because it is alarming. It really is. In fourth quarters, the turnovers are way up for James Harden this season because at the end of the games, the ball's in his hands a lot and he's more tired. So he has 36 assists to 29 turnovers in fourth quarters, James Harden. That's something you don't want to see. Jovan Buha will be joining me shortly here, next couple of minutes. Lakers beat writer for The Athletic. For more on how this Lakers season has gone, I got some tough questions for him, I think, as we'll have a throwback type episode here because we used to talk all the time when he was covering the Clippers for The Athletic up into and through the 2019-2020 season. So really excited for this. Knew I'd try to get him on before this first Clippers-Lakers showdown. Did not know it would take this long to get here, where the Clippers, after tomorrow night's game, will be at 41 games played on the season at the midway point. Exactly. And they will have gotten a total of 1 game in so far with the Lakers, which is happening tomorrow night at Intuit Dome. I'll check out some of your guys' comments here. Some are pretty vile and hurtful to Lakers fans. So I'm seeing here. Kaylee said, I feel very comfortable saying that the Clippers are a better defense than the Lakers are at offense. I think that's a fair point. The Clippers have the second best defense in the league on the season, and the Lakers on the offensive end on the season are 13th. So, yeah, the Clippers, they know who they are on one side of the ball much more than the Lakers know who they are on, their strength on the offensive end. The Clippers are so laser focused on defense. They have a real identity there. Lakers offense has still had some real low points this season. Clippers defense, they had those 6 games recently where they were 20th defensively and then got right back to playing great defense, and they have only jumped up in defensive rating since then. Second in the league. Keith said LeBron absolutely dominated the Kawhi matchup last year, so he needs to step up this season. I wouldn't say absolutely dominated if you look at the numbers. It's that 1/4 quarter where they came back down 21 on the Clippers. That was tough. Keith said Kawhi went 0 for 3 versus Braun last year and looked scared to guard him. Oh, God. Basically let Tice get cooked that last crypto game. He going to step up? I went through the footage of that and posted it afterwards. And, Kawhi was out there. Some of those threes, first of all, were happening when Kawhi wasn't even on the court. And then some of them happened when he was on the court, had a hand in LeBron's face, didn't matter. LeBron was just absolutely in the zone. This is the allowing him to get switched off thing. I went through the footage after that, and this is greatly overblown, and just a low-level fan narrative thing like, oh, he looks scared. Like, please, Kawhi's scared. So was LeBron scared when they beat the Lakers 11 straight times? I mean, I think over the last 5-6 years, LeBron shoots overall his lowest field goal percentage in the league against the Clippers on high volume too, because they play each other 4 times a year. The Clippers have done a great job, especially in the Ty Lue era, of guarding LeBron James. So this year, yes, as Jonathan Ing points out, the Clippers are even better equipped to handle the Lakers, and they have more switchability and more guys with point of attack defense that can give LeBron problems, which they've come in waves against him. And, they got his former coach in Ty Lue, where, he's LeBron James. He might be the greatest player ever. There's only so much you can do against him, but he's had some really good schemes. And they have the main reason that they have dominated the Lakers in this matchup in the 2-1-3 era and hopefully beyond is because of them holding down LeBron James and him overall not having enough huge games against the Clippers as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. Yeah. Dinenguan33 said Kawhi don't even have a scared face. Like LeBron started cooking in the fourth in that 21-point comeback when Kawhi was off the floor. And then when he came back, he had, I think, at least 2 of his threes against Kawhi where he was all over him. It didn't matter. Yes, Tice got switched on to him a couple of times. Tice's defense also wasn't even bad. It's just like sometimes you have to tip your cap. Sometimes you're on the other side of an all-world performance. You got to understand that. We got to be fair. Pat Bev was a good LeBron defender, of course. I expect Chris Dunn to do well against LeBron. And DJ. I'm interested to see who they start tomorrow against the Lakers between those two, as we're all expecting, of course, Kawhi Leonard to be back after having 3 days off. Injury report, I haven't seen it out yet. I'm guessing it'll come out around 5 tonight. If there's anything crazy on there, we'll fire up another episode for you. You know how we do things. This is 106 straight days of Clippers talk episodes for you here. Yeah, we went streaking.
We're going streaking! Yeah!
Alex Webb said LeBron gets those random hot shooting games from 3. Guys, he's shooting 40% from 3 on the season. And if you take out him going at one point 0 of 22 over multiple games from 3, he's shooting 45% from 3 on the season. He has improved there the last couple of years. I don't know if you noticed this. LeBron can shoot from the outside now. It's not just a streaky thing anymore. It's not him going streaking from distance. He's pretty consistently good from 3.
We're going streaking! Yeah!
All right. A man who's far too buttoned up to go streaking now joins the show from The Athletic, covered your Los Angeles Clippers for years as well, now doing it for the Lakers to get the other side. It is our friend, Jovan Buha. Jovan, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for doing this here on Clippers Talk and giving us some perspective when it comes to this rivalry and where the Lakers are at so far this season, because I've been listening to, I don't know, probably your last 10 YouTube videos on Buha's block and getting intel on what's happening with the Lakers, because from an outsider's perspective, they're consistently inconsistent. But I want to ask you this question right off the top and take a big swing here. Are the Lakers a good team that is underachieving, or a bad team that's actually slightly overachieving because of the point differential and still having a winning record?
Yeah, somewhere in the middle, I think, as tends to be the case with these things. I would lean more toward a mediocre team that is slightly overachieving. I mean, based on their net rating, their point differential, they should be below 500. The fact that they're 5 games above 500 would suggest that they are punching above their weight a bit. I mean, I look at last night's game against the Nets. No Anthony Davis, no Dorian Finney-Smith, so they are a bit compromised defensively. But it took some heroic shot making in the fourth quarter from Austin Reeves and LeBron James to beat a Nets team by 1 point that just lost to the Clippers by 59 points. Now, they did have Ben Simmons. They did have D'Angelo Russell. Do those guys make a 58-point swing? Not quite. So clearly, like the Lakers, I thought, quite frankly, were bad on both sides of the ball last night. Offensively, they really struggled against the Nets switching, which is, I think, something that the Clippers obviously do well, and what will be a big part of their game plan, I would assume, against the Lakers. And then defensively, allowing the Nets to get to the rim, allowing driving kick opportunities. And without Anthony Davis in there, they struggle to both protect the rim and protect the defensive glass. So I feel like last night was a bit of an anomaly, just because AD typically is out there and he really carries their defense in the paint. But it was also kind of a troubling sign for them of, even without AD, they could barely beat a lottery team. And really, I think if you have like a normal Austin and LeBron performance, you probably lose that game if you're them. So it will be interesting to see. They should have AD back and Dorian back against the Clippers on Sunday. That will help them on both sides of the ball. But right now, they're been very inconsistent, and that's where I lean mediocre-ish team that is punching above their weight a bit.
Man, D'Lo literally had a shot to do the funniest thing ever last night and beat the Lakers in his first
It
game
would have
back
been wild.
there. I was rooting for it, of course. Does this Lakers team have an identity, or is it a moving target right now?
It's a bit of a moving target. They've gone through stretches this season where it's really they're good on one side of the ball and they're bad on the other. And I think it ultimately comes down to they have a bunch of one-way players. So they had stretches where Cam Reddish was a big part of the rotation, and he's obviously more of a defensive guy, more of an offensive liability. So like that stretch with Cam and Gabe, Vincent and Max Christie, they were leaning more into the defensive end, but then the offense was struggling. And then stretches where like they were starting D'Lo earlier in the season, and even more recently, they've been good offensively and really bad defensively. So I think looking at the personnel, they trend more offensively, in my opinion, than defensively. They have tried to go through a shift to being more of a defensive team, but I just don't think they quite have the personnel. I think the Dorian Finney-Smith trade was a step in that direction. I still think they need to make another trade or two to really have that be their identity. So right now, I think it's a group that is leaning heavily on AD, LeBron, and Austin offensively, and those guys being able to get downhill, get to the free throw line, create driving kick opportunities for their shooters, and then it really kind of comes down to, are the other guys making shots? How much are they contributing offensively? Defensively, it's a mixed bag. They've been trying to switch more, but they don't really have switching personnel. Max Christie has emerged as a 3-and-D shooting guard for them. He's been playing pretty well. Austin Reeves has had a bit of a breakout this season as that number 3 guy for them that they've been hyping him up as. And outside of that, it's been like Rui's been very up and down. Gabe Vincent has been shooting better, but he's ultimately not lived up to expectations. Dorian Finney-Smith, I think has been fine since coming in and has helped on both sides, but he's not really like, that much of a game changer for them. So I still think that they're figuring out their lineups, their rotation. And this is also a group that I do expect to look a little bit different in 3 weeks. So right now, I think from an identity perspective, it's night to night, matchup to matchup. And that's kind of been one of the maddening things with this group is you just don't know what you're getting on a nightly basis.
Jovan Buha is our guest, beat writer for the Los Angeles Lakers for The Athletic, best in the business, in my not so humble opinion. Jovan, so I've been listening to your show. I've heard some of the names that have been thrown out there where they could have positional upgrades. And there seems to be some crossover with the Clippers and their needs as well. You talk about a defensive backup big and how the Lakers could really use a guy like that. The Clippers could too. Mo Bamba, I think overall has been disappointing. Kai Jones is just too raw and he's not there yet. They do play some small ball, of course, with Nico Batum when they have Kawhi healthy. I'm sure Coach Lue will lean into that. But what are the guys and what are the positional needs that the Lakers are looking at? And do you think if they got shellacked tomorrow night by the Clippers, that could ramp up the urgency of them actually going out and making a move? Because while it sounds silly, it's just one game. Sometimes the Lakers drama just seems to reach that pinnacle. And I don't know, it could force Rob Pelinka's hand. I could see that happening if the Clippers, the other team in town, the first game this season, really put one on the Lakers.
Certainly a possibility. I do think that they're likely going to wait out this trade market just to see who's ultimately available. These things are very fluid, and depending on how we're less than 3 weeks away from the trade deadline now, depending on how the next couple of weeks in particular go, we'll start to see which teams are going to be buyers, which teams are going to be sellers, and among the sellers, which guys are they willing to part with. So we obviously know that there's been several names out there that I think will continue to be out there, but that I'm sure there will be some guys that shake loose in terms of becoming available within the next couple of weeks. And I think the Lakers are trying to wait that out and see what's the best price that they could get for certain guys. Now, in terms of needs, they have 3 needs right now. One, you mentioned a better backup 5. They've really, like, Christian Wood has been out all season. He's supposed to be back relatively soon, but there hasn't been an update recently. Jackson Hayes is fine in certain matchups, but as we saw last night, against the Nets. He is not a rim protector. He actually did a decent job in terms of his defensive rebounding, but he's a relatively limited backup, and I think he's more of a situational player than anything. Then they got like Christian Koloko, and they just added Trey Jemison, a couple of two-way bigs, but they're two-way bigs for a reason. So they clearly need an upgrade in terms of a backup five. They've really, since the 2021 season, if you go back and look at their rosters through the LeBron AD era, they've not had another like playable center in terms of, if we're talking like high stakes, game 5, game 7 type center who could even be out there like 8-12 minutes. They've not had that guy in 4 years. So it's really been a point of weakness for this group going back multiple seasons now. So that's one need. Now that they traded D'Lo, Austin has really stepped up as that lead primary ball handler, shot creator, playmaker. But if you like, I was having this conversation with some people last night. It's like, who's their third best ball handler? I don't know who it is. Obviously, it's LeBron and Austin as the top two guys. But I think you can make a case it's either Gabe Vincent or Anthony Davis. And that answer is troubling to me if I'm the Lakers, with that being your third best ball handler. So I think like they could still use another, even if it's just like a bench guard who could run the offense for 12 to 15, 18 minutes a night and just help grease the wheels a bit. So that's another need. And then third and final one, and I would actually argue this is the most important one, is just another two-way wing. Because you look at a team like the Clippers and how many two-way guys they have. You look at Boston, you look at OKC, you look at the best teams in the league. They all have 4, 5, sometimes even 6 or 7 like two-way wings who can credibly be out there and at a minimum shoot league average or better on threes and defend in multiple positions. The Lakers don't really have those types of guys. I would classify like Max Christie and Dorian Finney-Smith as the two guys that they have. Gabe Vincent can qualify, but he's 6'1", so there's a limitation there. But in terms of like guys in that 6'5" to 6'9" wing range, they have two guys. So I think that is still a weakness of this roster. And if they could add another 1 or 2 by the deadline, I think that would really help their two-way versatility. So I think, I just laid out 3 needs. Those are 3 needs that aren't going to necessarily be cheap. And the Lakers have limited assets. They have 2 first-round picks to trade. If they trade both, they have upwards of 3 pick swaps and then 2 second-round picks. And 2 second-round picks. They have the Clippers' second-round pick this year. So they have their second-round pick and the Clippers' second-round pick. Those aren't going to be valuable. Those are going to be picks 45 to 52, depending on where they finish. So they have some limited assets, that they have contracts people don't want. And I'm not quite sure how they're going to check all 3 of those boxes, but I think that they have to check at least one, if not a couple of those.
Can they check one internally? Is Jared Vanderbilt ever coming back? Because it feels like there's been a couple of setbacks, and I don't think he's played a game since last February.
You are correct. It's been, and even last year, he only played 26, 28 games. So it's going on in the past, we're at 20 months. Over the past 20 months, he's played less than 30 games, which is just wild. So he's basically been injured for almost 2 straight seasons now. And he could help certainly with the defensive end. The issue, of course, with him is the shooting, and just he's if we're ranking like perimeter players in terms of anti-gravity, zero gravity, Jared Vanderbilt is in that top 10. Like, teams just do not guard him. They either put a point guard on him, or their worst defender on him, or like a center on him. And it's just ignore this guy and be a help defender. And the Lakers started to counter that last season, right before he got injured, like the final couple weeks. He started to play better, and they were using him as like an elbow hub. Like, he's sneakily got some passing and ball handling skills. He grew up as a point guard. He just grew to be a much bigger size. So I think for him, it's just ultimately like he's kind of an offensive liability, and that's where, even with like, he could certainly help with the defense, and I would argue he's probably their second best defender overall behind AD. It's just he doesn't bring the level of shooting and like attacking closeouts that Christie and DFS do. So I still think even if Vano can help, and that maybe gives them like a 2.5 two-way type guys, but I still think they need to go out and get another one of those.
Yeah, it's always been strange for me with roster construction with Rob Pelinka and just so many one-way players. And it's like, one of those guys makes him overreact to getting somebody else who's good on the other end of the floor, but he still has limitations on one end or the other. It's just, I don't know. The roster construction has been curious to say the least. What's the best thing or best move or strategy JJ Redick has brought to this Lakers team? And what's been something that you could lump some harsh criticism on that he's done so far this season?
I think the offensive organization, it's been a little inconsistent lately. So it is a funny time to kind of use that as a strength. But overall, that was a big thing last year with Darvin Ham, was the team just not having an organized offense, freelancing far too much, and at times, I think, underperforming relative to their offensive talent. I think the Lakers have I think part of it's just inherent with this group, and sometimes the way that they can lack focus and just sort of float out there at times. But I think that the offensive organization, and like JJ's been incredible with his ATOs, that they've been one of the best ATO teams in the league. Like when he is able to set something up and draw it up, he's done a really good job in terms of drawing up different sets and actions that have been very effective. So I think that I think the offense in general has been better this season compared to last season. There has been more intentionality. You're seeing AD is putting up his best numbers offensively as a Laker, and I think JJ deserves a lot of credit. Like Austin, like several guys are having, Max, Austin, AD are having their best seasons as Lakers, and I think there's a direct correlation with JJ leading the charge there. I would say the thing that, if there was one thing to lobby some criticism with, has been the switching. And at times it's felt, because I don't know about you, but I was an avid listener of JJ and his podcast. And like, you kind of got to know his basketball philosophies. And clearly he was a big fan of the Boston Celtics and Joe Mazzulla and the way that they operated. And there was a big emphasis earlier in the season with the Lakers on shooting more threes, and they've tried to be more of a switch heavy team, but that's just not really this group. And we've seen it recently, particularly in the Dallas and San Antonio losses, where those two teams just were target hunting. And I suspect the Clippers will do something similar, depending on how the Lakers defend them, of targeting Austin Reeves, targeting Rui Hachimura, and putting weaker defenders in help positions. And because the Lakers are switching so much, that you're just able to really pick the matchup that you want and to go at that player. So they have, since this last couple of games against Miami and against Brooklyn, they've been a little less switch heavy, but in general, I think they do switch too much, even if it's not 1 through 5. Their base coverage is 1 through 4. And I just don't think they have the personnel. Like, they're not a good defensive rebounding team. They don't have small perimeter guys who like battle in the paint and are strong and athletic. So if just by nature of like the physical tools, if you have an Austin Reeves, a Max Christie, a Gabe Vincent switched onto bigger players in the paint, they're going to score, they're going to get fouled, they're going to get offensive rebounds. So I think they need to be a little less aggressive with the switching. And that would be my one thing, is like some of these games, it's just been simple target hunting. They've also not countered in those games. So I think that's kind of the second point to it, where it's like, it's one thing if you want to go into the game with a certain game plan, but I think the countering within it of Dallas is just they ISO'd Austin Reeves 15 times. And that was the most a player has been ISO'd in the NBA this season. And the fact that they did not counter that better, I think that would be kind of a slight knock. But overall, I would say for a rookie head coach, a guy who had never previously coached above the youth level, and by youth, I mean 10 and under, I think he's done a pretty good job, the first half of the season.
Is LeBron, I've looked at his plus minus, and it's kind of alarming. But when I watch him, I still go, I think he's still a top 10 player. I think he's right around there. Is there an argument to be made that he is still, one of the best players in the NBA at the age of 40? Can he be top 10?
Yeah, I would say I would put him in the top 15. I think top 10, he's on the border there. I think AD's, to be clear, I think AD's been their best player. I think AD is top 7 or 8 player, and you could maybe argue as high as 5, especially with his start earlier in the season. I mean, I thought he looked like an MVP candidate, and then he slipped a bit since then. But with LeBron, the one thing that I think when you cover a team and are around them and are following them on a daily basis, you kind of know the context of things. And the one thing that they've really struggled with is figuring out the LeBron-centric bench lineups. And even if you look the last couple of games, when no Dorian and then no AD last night, they threw out this lineup in the first half for far too long. That was like Gabe Vincent, Shake Milton, Dalton Connect, LeBron, and against Miami, it was Jackson Hayes. And then against Brooklyn, it was Trey Jemison. And I'm like, are you trying to take this guy's plus minus? Because you're putting basically 4 guys who like Dalton Connect earlier in the season was shooting the ball. He is projecting to be a sharpshooter, but he's been shooting like, I think he's under 20% on his threes over the past like month and a half. So he's really been struggling.
3 weeks without making a three. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, like he's really been struggling. He shot 19% on threes in December. So you're putting basically with the current version of Dalton 4 offensive liabilities next to LeBron, and then LeBron so I think they've tried to protect him by playing more defensive minded lineups and more Cam Reddish, Gabe Vincent, and backup bigs and trying to like give him a certain level of defensive support. But I think ultimately it's kind of backfired where those lineups have just been really bad offensively, and with turnovers or like long misses, they give up a lot of points in transition, because that's one thing LeBron does not really do at this point is get back in transition or try. Like, it depends on the night in terms of his defense. But so I would say, to me, it's more context based of like 80s often out there with Austin, with Rui, sometimes with Max. So like they actually kind of load 80 centric lineups more with the starters. And then LeBron ends up playing more with like the fringe rotation guys for whatever reason. And he no longer can carry those types of groups. He used to be able to do it earlier in the Lakers tenure in Cleveland, Miami, etc. He can't really do that anymore. So I still think he's a top 15 guy, but he can't maybe raise those types of lineups in the way that he used to. And I think you've seen that in the plus minus.
Lastly, for you here, Jovan, what's your perception of this Clippers team and what they've been able to do so far this season, where after last night, now they have the second best defensive rating in the league? A lot of people have credited Jeff Van Gundy. A lot of people have credited, like myself, Lawrence Frank. He was cooking this offseason when they lost Paul George. What have you seen? What have you noticed? What's the outside perception of this Clippers team?
They've been one of the best stories in the NBA, I would say. We saw entering the season, a lot of people had them as a borderline play-in team or even missing the play-in altogether. And I think you could understand it to an extent, just with losing Paul George, having a certain level of uncertainty with Kawhi and when he was going to be back or how much he was going to be available. But they obviously were pretty good without Kawhi. And then you add Kawhi, and that takes you to a different level. So I think they've done, really throughout this tenure of like in the Kawhi era, they've done a really good job of identifying two-way talent. That I think they've built really smart, modern rosters, and they've had some bad injury luck and some things not go their way. But from a process perspective, I think the front office has done a really, really good job of putting, identifying an Amir Coffey, a Terrence Mann. Obviously, I know Jerry had a big part of that, but those types of guys, I think that's the like the Spurs and the Warriors and the Heat and the Celtics and like those types of elite organizations throughout the years. They're constantly finding those types of guys, and I think the Clippers have done a really good job. I also look at Zoo. And Zoo is having a monster year, and I'm like, he's fared pretty well against AD in recent matchups, and I think that's going to potentially be a big X factor tomorrow night of this version of Zoo going up against AD and how he fares and how he holds his own. But if this team is healthy, they're going to be really tough to beat in the West, and I fully expect them to be, as long as again, health goes a certain way, that they should be in the playoffs. And Ty Lue's one of the best coaches in the league. Kawhi, we've seen what Kawhi could do, and then they got James Harden as well. And they got a bunch of two-way wings and defensive-minded players around them. As you said, Jeff Van Gundy, I think, deserves a lot of credit for helping the defense. So I think they've been, I would say, overachieving relative to like preseason expectations, but I think they're a really good team, and it's been one of the better stories that I feel like from a national perspective, they haven't gotten the coverage or the attention that they probably should have up to this point. But sometimes I feel like they kind of like that. And if they continue to win, eventually it will come.
Yeah, maybe a victory over the Lakers will put the spotlight on just how good
that
they've
would
been
do
so
it.
far this season. Clippers, Lakers tomorrow night from Intuit Dome. First time in 25, 26 years that the Lakers are the true road team. The Clippers are the true home team in this matchup. He is Jovan Buha of The Athletic, covers the Clippers there. Has the YouTube channel where, my goodness, if I got as many super chats as him, I could retire before LeBron. Like, I mean, the guy is killing it with his post-game recaps and the lives he does, and his Lakers coverage is the best in the game. And that's saying something, because a lot of people love to cover the Lakers because of the attention they get, but nobody does it better than Jovan Buha. Jovan, thanks for doing this here on Clippers Talk.
Appreciate you, Adam.
All right, for Jovan Buha, I'm Adam Osland. I hope to see you all tomorrow night at Intuit Dome. This has been another edition, show 106, 106 straight shows on here, and I can't get the super chats that Jovan does. What the hell? We'll see you guys at Intuit Dome.